I'd like to welcome everybody to our senior seminar series, our special career search boot camp, jump starting your job search for the 2021 graduates of the College of Engineering. Today's topic is aligning your job search to your career goals, the who of it all. My name is Garth Machenbacher. I co-direct the Center for Spartan Engineering here in the College of Engineering at Michigan State. My focus for my work is both with employer development and engagement, as well as assisting and providing help to graduating seniors and young alumni in their career exploration and eventually connecting for opportunity. Some of you I've met, I know, looking at the roster of the people attending today. Some are first time, at least with me, that I'm aware of. So welcome aboard. All week we're gonna have a series of seminars, but today again is aligning your job search to your career goals. And I call it the who of it all. And so let's get started. Why the who of it all? Well, to really understand your job search, you need to understand who you are, really the what of what you are. And so if any of you have been traveling along with us during your years here at the university, you know one of the things that we shepherd and provide in the College of Engineering is who logic, really as the organizer for your resume, but beyond that, for cover letters, interviewing, networking, engagement, and actually everything you do in your career. Who logic is really a great methodology and tool in order to organize everything in terms of how you're presenting and providing information, and ultimately creating your own value proposition for employers of note, employers that you wish to engage with and wish to hire you ultimately down the road. But it begins with understanding your what, who you are. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. We're going to be talking about and showcasing research and aligning using Who Logic with the employers that match up with who you are. One of the mistakes students often make, job candidates often make, is looking at everybody and anybody. Once they get that everybody and anybody opportunity, they find themselves unhappy. One of the reasons is it doesn't align with who they are and what they want. So we're going to be talking about researching and aligning, utilizing Who Logic with who you are and what you want. We'll also be utilizing the tools and technologies, the how, and talking about that throughout the series of what tools and technologies are out there can help you. And then finally, identifying and connecting with employers and alumni and getting that how to income or outcome is going to be an additional seminar that we're going to offer and record for all of you to pay attention to. Okay. So we're really focusing in again today on the who of it all, what's what with you, and looking at and understanding who you are. It begins with what you have done. Now, many of you stop that sentence at what you have done with only your career-related engineering, co-op, intern, and summer jobs. And certainly those are important parts to play in what you have done and what you have to present to employers. But you have to look at beyond that to the other engagements that you've had, maybe volunteer engagements, maybe leadership engagements, things that you've done with sport, things that you've done with clubs, things that you've done on your own in terms of not only understanding who you are, but presenting those skill sets to employers. When you've started documenting those things, and I think that does help in terms of documenting all the things, you'll be surprised in all the things that you've done and actually all the skills that you have to provide employers. They should not be limited to only where you have been paid for work and only work that is deemed quote unquote engineering relevant. So we need to look at what you have done, where you have worked, and what path you've started. Many of understanding who you are is to look at where you've walked. So where have you worked previously? What have you been involved in previously? And how much is that who you are? One of the things as you reflect on your life looking backwards is the things that make you happy, made you happy, will make you happy. So the idea of if you've had an internship, a co-op, a summer job, or any kind of experience that has provided you not only a skill, but happiness, has made you, hey, I'm glad I'm doing this. Those are things that we really need to travel back and look at, because looking forward, We also want to do things that will make you happy, that will help you grow, that will help you succeed. And so the path you have started might already be there. If you've already worked in the aerospace industry, then stepping back and looking, okay, what do I think of the aerospace industry? Is it something I want to stay with, or is it someplace I want to go? If you've already worked in Detroit, maybe it wasn't with a company that you wanted, but you love Detroit. You love Metro Detroit. You grew up in Metro Detroit. The Lions are your team. God help you if your Lions are your team, by the way, but the Lions are your team. Then maybe Detroit does have something for you, even if it's not a previous intern co-op or company that you worked at. So you have to examine that path, because that path is already defining a little bit where you're going forward. Or you have to make a quick U-turn and head out somewhere else. Quick story on that. When I came out of college, I was a finance accounting major, and I took a job with General Motors in their finance accounting department at General Motors Saginaw division. What I found out was finance and accounting were not my path. And GM wasn't my path, but Michigan was. I was surprised by that. I didn't know Michigan was my path, but I found out that it was. And so you do find out things that you can then utilize going forward in determining what your adjusted or tweaked or created path is. Next up, after you've looked at who you are and understanding who you are, you need to define what you want. Salary, location, company, job content, the environment and culture of what you want. And I think some things are probably jumping into your mind now in terms of what that is. Well, we all like to get paid. We all like to get paid well. And by the way, you're going to be engineering graduates from a Big Ten university. So let's just put pay on the back burner for now. You're going to get paid. But what are the location that you want or that you don't want? What is the company or industry that you want or don't want? Job content, environment, culture, and starting to look at those things. A lot of people tell me, well, I'll work anywhere and I'll do anything, Garth. No, you won't. I can pick out a number of places that you won't want to work, both locationally and company-wise, and things that you won't want to do. So you have to be truthful here. What do you really want? And then start aligning your resume in terms of those things, making sure your resume speaks to those locations, those companies, those industries, those cultures, those types of positions that you want. And so we'll dive into that a little bit as well. Okay, let's understand who you are, the places that you've worked. Well, we've already talked a little bit about this, but the idea of the companies and industries that you've worked in, did they jive with what you want to do next? Or are they complete opposites of that? I'm often amused by folks that have spent their entire 4 undergraduate years working in a company and in an industry that was locationally based on where they're from, and all of a sudden doing a total 180 and want to jump not only from that company, but also from that industry and also from that location, having established no connections and no understanding of what that next leap is. Now, that works for some, but for most, it doesn't. Again, the path that you've already been on is going to be a path that will be most helpful in getting you where you want to go. So the idea that if you have a company that you really like, but for whatever reason, maybe an opportunity that you want doesn't exist in that company, or is there other opportunities in that company that can fit your needs for now? And then eventually lean in or grow into that position that you want. Same with industries, same with locations, same with types of jobs. Not always will you get your dream job coming out of college. And those of you who do, maybe that's not a good thing to have your dream job right out of college, because the next 40 years might be a real disappointment. You've got to look at where your growth opportunities are and things that are going to make you happy along the way. And so as you look at location, as you look at jobs, you look at places, I want you to think about that. Think about the locations that you've been. So I've been in Michigan. Many of you grown up in Michigan and probably have been, for the most part, consistent on traveling and working in the Midwest. But do you have an East Coast affiliation? Do you have a West Coast desire to go out and work in LA, in Seattle, in Portland, in San Francisco? And do you have connections that way? Do you want to go south? Do you want to head to Texas, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona? And what connections do you have there? Do you have friends? Do you have family? Do you have colleagues? Have you worked there before? What identifiers do you have and knowledge do you have of those areas that make you think this is where you want to go. And finally, the jobs and roles that you've thrived in. Have you worked in design and development? Have you had an experience in test or R&D? Have you worked in manufacturing or quality? Now, some of you again will stop and say, Garth, remember, I told you I haven't had any career-related internship engineering experience to date. That doesn't mean you didn't do design back in your high school working in your school newspaper. That doesn't mean you haven't done development of a project or an idea or a solution for your family business. That doesn't mean that you haven't done your sense of R&D and making sure a project worked, or helping your brother or sister do something time after time, trying different iterations and different paths until it finally works. And always working on quality and control of that, whether it be in your student groups, organizations, in the way that you present your classroom work. All of that stuff actually has roles in that area that are connected in these design, development, test, R&D, manufacturing, quality that we're speaking of. Again, you need to understand what you've done, what experience you've had, what do you like, what matches up with your own skill set before you start looking out there and moving forward. This will help a lot. And one of the major first criteria that students and job seekers don't think about: what skills are they bringing to the table? What areas do they already know? What paths have they already trailblazed? And what will make sense moving forward? I have a young person that I've been working with that told me that they had no experience whatsoever. But yet and still, when I looked at their experiences, I found out that they'd had a long retail experience, that they also had played and were very competitive in high school and early college sports, including a volunteer college team here at Michigan State. Well, the idea again that they combine those efforts in opportunities like working at Adidas or Nike or Wilson or Brunswick or whatever shined a new light on what they've done and the path that they've already been trailing. Again, what Brunswick and Wilson and Nike and Adidas are looking for are folks that love sport. And they also love people that have already worked in their stores and understand that part of the business, the money-making part of the business. And so that opportunity, those experiences opened up opportunity for this person to possibly get an opportunity with Wilson Sporting out of Chicago, and now is in second round interviews. But they made those connection points. They did this work in understanding who they are and what they were and what they've connected with in order to identify an employer that doesn't regularly recruit at Michigan State, isn't easily identifiable to most engineering students, but is a perfect match for where they want to go entry level wise with their career. So you have to create your own bracketology here. You, of course, again, want to get paid, but you need to define what location or locations are going to work for you and maybe what's not. Me, Deep South doesn't work. I love the South when you're in the South in January, February, and March. But having spent some summers in southern Missouri, having visited during July in Arizona, having done site visits in Texas in August, not a place that I could live. So you need to understand not only what location means, but what locations are out of order. Also, what company image that you want. Do you want to work in the automotive industry? Do you want to work in the aerospace? Do you want to work in consumer product goods? Is there a specific company or group of companies that you really, really, really want? And you've been identifying over the 2, 3, and 4 years, maybe some that you've interned, co-opted, or unfortunately didn't get an opportunity with, but had talked to previously, which, by the way, just because you talked to them previously and you didn't get an internship or co-op doesn't mean they're off the market for a full-time opportunity. Is there a certain job content that you want coming out of the gate? And is there a certain environment or culture? You want a small company, you want a large company, you want something in the city, you want something rural. There's a lot of different company choices here that could match up with that. After you've defined these, and the definition for each one of you is different, then you prioritize. Which one is the most important? Is location? Is job content? Is environment culture my most important? Or is that least important? And prioritize those areas, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All the time understanding we're going to get paid, and we'll get back to money here. But right now, we're just going to define and prioritize what we want in terms of these 4 areas. And then once you do that, I want you to value it out. I want you to weight it in terms out of 100. What percentage is job content? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Is it 40%? What's the most, what's the level of your priority number 1? Is it 50% of your job search is location? Is environment culture? Then be true to yourself and understand that. And then create a list of employers that fit your priority categories. And let's shortcut this. Let's not create companies that fit priorities 3 and 4 because those are out. Priorities 1 and 2, that's what we're going to try to fill. Those are the priority areas that we want to match employers with. Those are the folks that we want to line up and see if we can find employers that fit our criteria and our location preference. If that's number 1, in being in Metro Detroit, or being in Chicago, or being in the rural community of Colorado, or Wyoming, or North Carolina. You've got to then find employers that have opportunities. And not all opportunities, not all companies will have headquarters there, but maybe they have a plant. Maybe they have a sales office. Maybe they have something else that will match with that. What a lot of folks look at is they look at these large employers and they say, okay, 3M's in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I don't want to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But 3M has plants all over. They have plants in Omaha, Nebraska. They have plants in Austin, Texas. They have plants in South Carolina. And so you need to understand that these larger companies, these big brand companies, sometimes will fit your location preference, even though initially you thought they were only limited to one spot. So there is some work that you need to do on this. All right. As you examine these different areas, as you look at these opportunities, your resume needs to be aligned and following this, meaning you're spelling out the who's. Now, I'm not going to do resume construction for you today. There's wonderful seminars and workshops for you to attend throughout the semester. We have videos on our website, which will take you through WhoLogic and the development of a resume. We have career peers that will critique your resume if that's what you want to do. We have a resume Dropbox available on our website. You can drop off your resume, and usually within 48 hours, we'll get it back to you. But I am not going to critique your resume or tell you how to do a resume today. Your seniors, I expect that you know how to do that. All right. But what I do want to talk to you about is spelling out the who's on your resume, aligning your what's with their what's, and showing your value. All right. That's what the next step of it is for you as graduating seniors. Now, what do I mean by that? You can do a great job of telling in your resume what you have done. You can do an outstanding job putting it within WhoLogic. I designed and created an inventory system using accounting principles such as LIFO, FIFO to design and develop an inventory system that resulted in a 300% time savings for weekly inventory. All right, great who statement for me. The what, designed and developed an inventory system. The how, I used accounting principles, including LIFO, FIFO. And the outcome resulted in a 300% time savings for weekly inventory. And that's great. And there's a lot of things that all of you have done at your work experiences, both, again, engineering career related and not, by the way. That's a real experience that I did at a hometown drugstore when I was 18 years old. So again, you don't have to have engineering specific experience to actually create a skill and show things that you have done. If I can create an inventory system at Flushing Pharmacy, I can do it at GM, 3M, IBM. All right. But here's the key. You need to match up with what the employers are looking for. So when I look at a number of your resumes, what I find is you tell me a lot of great things of what you did in terms of a project or a program or a product or a process that you did at your company. But you go deep in the woods and you don't tell me enough about the how and the outcome to really match over and cross over to what I'm looking for as a company. What I mean is, even though you've done great work on the project or program that you did at XYZ company, at YZX company, We don't produce that product. So unless you go to back to work at XYZ company, it's not going to matter. But what does matter is that you worked on a team of 12, a team of 12 cross disciplinary people across different ideologies, different ethnicities, different age groups, different gender groups. Because you know what I need as an employer? I need somebody that can lead and work and manage and be a part of a team. That's what I want. I don't care that you worked on the X15 project or not. I want team players. Can you show me in your experience that you're a team player? So when I look at my resume, in your resume, I'm looking for evidence that you know how to operate, run, work on, and be a part of a team. I'm also looking for people that can problem solve and creatively think. When I look at your experiences, again, I don't care about the specific item that you worked on. What I care about is how you thought through the process. What I care about is that you problem solved using a methodology or invented a new way to look at the same problem that all of us were looking at that couldn't solve. I want critical thinkers. I want problem solvers. When I read your resume, I need to see that. As an employer, I want people that can communicate effectively because you can have the best ideas in the world, but if you cannot tell me what your idea is, I can't use it. So, did you communicate in your previous experience? Did you write weekly communications? Did you do weekly presentations to show your work? How did you communicate your work to your supervisor, to upper management, to your peers, to your colleagues, to the people on the production floor when you were working in the engineering department? How did you get those changes to the cell down there? Just yell down on a loudspeaker? I'm guessing you wrote those down and you had to go down and train and implement and evaluate and see what you might have forgotten and done and recalculate and refocus on those and get those back out again. Those are all things I'm looking for. So generically, employers are always looking for problem solvers. They're always looking for communicators. They're always looking for team players. There's always looking for people that can creatively think. They're looking for people who can manage time and priorities. College students are great at managing time and priorities. So your ability to take classes, work a part-time job, and be a part of a student group or organization says manage time and priorities. Your idea that you're an athlete, whether it be varsity or club sport, you can manage time and priorities. The idea that you took 10 credits of classes and did a part-time co-op or internship or just a job on campus or locally with Consumers Energy or Gerdau or Jackson National, you can manage time and priorities. As an employer, I'm looking for that. It's not just going to be one project. It's going to be multiple projects and multiple teams that you're going to be managing your time and priorities on. And I can't watch you the entire time. So that self-management is going to be important. So many times, all of you say, well, I don't know what the employers are looking for. I just told you what they're looking for. Team players, problem solvers, creative thinkers, communicators, manage time and priority. By the way, they'd like you to have integrity and be trustworthy. And then also for you to be a self-starter. When I read your resume, I need to see those things come up. You could have the best Who logic principles used on your resume, but not be speaking to what I'm looking for. If you don't know specifically what I'm looking for, know that I'm looking for the things I just told you. But as you read through a job description and you see different items that are identified in the job description or what the employer recruiter tells you about the job, they give you clues also more specifically of what we're looking for at XYZ company. We're looking for a person with knowledge of PSpice, JavaScript. We're looking for somebody that knows how to utilize CAD. We're looking for somebody that has experience with some system, some ideology, some program, some knowledge. If you've got that, then you need to make sure that showcases in your resume. You might need to rewrite a section of your resume in order to bring that out, because the more that you can match what their what's are and desires with what your what's are, aka your skills of knowledge, that shows your value to them. So getting back to my experience of designing and developing an inventory system, utilizing accounting principles that resulted in a 300% time savings for weekly inventory at my old job at Flushing Pharmacy, that says problem solver. It says creative thinker. And if you get, and then you want to ask me a question about it as an interviewer, and I'll tell you I came back and I trained the entire staff on the system. That's a team player. That's a communicator with an outcome. I hit 4 or 5 skill sets with just that one statement. So instead of concentrating on exactly what you did on your resume, I want you to think about your resume as an entire value proposition, again, using Who methodology, and bring out the strongest skills, the brightest moments of your experiences, the true accomplishments and achievements, and what you did, how you did it, and the outcome, but speaking to the values and skill sets that I'm looking for as an employer, whether it be specifically laid out in the job description, or again, those generic skills of problem solving, creative thinking, communicating effectively, working as a team, managing time and priorities, working across boundaries, trustworthy, with integrity, creative self-starter. Those are things that all employers are looking for. Once you've done that, once you've got that resume honing in on the opportunities that are out there, matching your skills with the skills they're looking for, that will show the true value. That will match what they're looking for. Companies are out there for one thing only: to make money. Sound like a Shark Tank guy. To make money. If you can show them that you can help them make money because of the values you're presenting on your resume, you go to the front of the line. You get the interview. And if you can showcase those in the interview, you're going to get the offer. Now, here's the thing about all of that stuff that I just said. You do a great job. You have the best resume. You are the most qualified candidate. You are top of the list. But you put your resume online in the system, whether it be Indeed or Handshake or on the company website or ZipRecruiter or whatever, LinkedIn. The problem is you're one of 100, if not 1,000 resumes. And remember, you're the most qualified candidate here. But unless we can get them to see it, it don't matter. You have to make connections. You have to have people that are willing to take a look at you and say, hey, this woman, this man is a great fit for our organization. You should take a look at them. Oh, and by the way, they've applied for the job and they're in our hiring queue right now. So you not only have to utilize the systems and apply online, like most employers will tell you to do at any career fair, but you'll also have to use your connections that you make at the career fair or through other paths to identify your resume in their system and to bring it out on the other side and apply it correctly in the position or positions that you're seeking. And that's all about making connections. In tomorrow's seminar, we're going to show you how to make connections. Now, if you want to join them, that's great. If not, again, going back to our website, going on to the website, we have great webinars and seminars, and a couple of them are making connections and utilizing LinkedIn, which is our preferred tool to do that, and showcasing how you can do that and what the proper methodologies and strategies are using WhoLogic in order to make those long-term connections and also those fast connections that can help identify you and get you the interview for the job. It's up to you from there, but they can shorten that package of resumes to look at only the folks that they know a little something about. These days, companies, referrals are a big thing. Young employees are encouraged to reach back to their university and find candidates from their old stomping grounds that would make great job candidates for their company. Referrals are a big business, and so the idea that you make connections with former alumni, friends, colleagues, and people you reach out to utilizing tools like LinkedIn does matter in the job search process. Okay, based on what we've talked about today, what are your next steps? Well, first of all, you got to whoify your search. From your resume to your pitch, from the interview to the offer, always focusing in on not only the what you've done, what you have to offer, but the how and the outcome. The beauty of WhoLogic is it not only works on resumes, it works on cover letters, it works on interviewing, it works on your pitch, aka elevator speech to employers. It also works on the interview and to make the offer. Again, translating that, and I know some of you in EGR 393, we forced you to do this as your final project. Creating value, showing your value proposition is what employers are looking for in that interview process, and ultimately in that offer is going to be key here. So we want to whoify your entire search. Again, We've given you different chapters from the Who Logic book. Who Logic's available on Amazon if you want it. You don't need it, but you can have it for a fairly reasonable price. I love Who Logic because it's utilized for you guys, but it also is helpful to people in my position as well. So again, whoifying, or again, mailing out what you've done, how you've done it, and the outcome in every step of your process is really key here. And something that some of you are lacking as I talk to you individually, as I listen to employers, you're not quite there, some of you. And so you need to make sure you practice and get that down. You also need to create that list of employers that we talked about, matching up with your priorities and your percentage weights. Identifying employers by your priorities. And the easiest way to do this is just create an old spreadsheet using Excel, right? So you put the name of the company, location of the company, the contact information if you have it, and then start mapping and recording every contact that you had with that company throughout the process. When you sent your resume, when you talked to them at the career fair, when they were supposed to get back to you and they don't, and then following back up with them, and maybe they don't respond to you, and then putting another pin in it to say, okay, I'm going to follow up with them again in 3 days time. I emailed them before, now I'm going to call them. Maybe you have the text or the cell phone number of the recruiter. I'm going to text her or call her and see what's going, and record all the contact, all the information that you had. And again, if you don't have any contacts or enough contacts, you shouldn't just limit it to one contact per employer. Connect with contacts, connect with alumni, connect with everybody that you can find working in that organization that might be able to give you intel, insider information, and that opportunity to be introduced to an employer or to a hiring manager that might have somebody in line. And that somebody might be you. Again, only 20% of the open opportunities in your career will be posted on a job posting board, will be identified at a career fair. 80% of the market is hidden. It's by who you know. It's by connecting with folks. Well, if you didn't know that today. And so the work that you do behind the scenes, connecting with people and finding insider information should be just as much, if not more so, than what you're doing in terms of sending out your resume on Handshake and LinkedIn and Indeed and Glassdoor and attending career fairs. Now, you shouldn't do those things, but you also need to do that back end work. And again, tomorrow's seminar will go hands into that. There are a number of tools and tricks that you can use in order to get and identify, those opportunities of note in the companies that match up to your priorities. Handshake is obviously one of them. I see a lot of you just utilize the Handshake job posting board and that's it. Are you going in and searching employers on Handshake? Are you using the search tools within Handshake and creating a tool to find all the consumer product goods companies in the Midwest that are hiring entry-level engineers? Are you following the companies within Handshake that you're most identified with, so that every time they post a position, every time that they create an event, every time they sign up for a career fair, you're notified that they do that? Handshake has a job search agent that you can do that. Most search engines do. I know LinkedIn does. I know Indeed does. I know CareerShift does. But Handshake is one of them as well. If you're having trouble with that job search agent and not knowing how to do that, just drop by our drop-in office hours, and any of our career peers can show you how to do that. And easy enough, you'll get notified every week of the job opportunities that match the skills or the areas or the location preferences or whatever you're looking for. Also on our website, our careers website, and I'll drop that link in the chat. If you haven't been to our careers website in a while, it's really user friendly and stocked with all kinds of information. We redid the whole thing as we got into COVID, and it has a lot of great tools, information, and knowledge that it didn't have before. One of the things it has on there is a calendar of all the different events that are engineering relevant events and all of the hot jobs. Every day I go in and look at hot jobs for graduating seniors. I look for hot jobs for interns and co-ops of Michigan State engineering, and I put them on our jobs board, which is on the website, and on our Twitter feed. If you're not utilizing that, it's just a quick, easy way to have jobs fed to you on an everyday basis. There's some other tools and tricks that we'll cover in the second half of tomorrow's seminar as well. But let me just say that LinkedIn has a number of items that you might want to consider, and utilizing something additional handshake, like Indeed, like maybe the Engineering Society of Detroit. Those of you who want to find an opportunity in Metro Detroit, you should join that student chapter of the Engineering Society of Detroit. Do you know they host their own job fairs? Do you know they have their own job board? Do you know Robert McGee is a savant in terms of helping young people find opportunities in the greater Detroit area? If you're from West Michigan, same's true with Hello West Michigan. Many cities, many areas have opportunities in your own student organizations and groups that are tied to your major, AIChemE, ASME, ASCE. They have professional level organizations moving forward that also have job boards and career opportunities and all kinds of stuff to utilize. And so you should be mapping into those as well, not just limiting yourself to what you get as a student, but now what you'll get as a professional engineer. All right, I've alluded to some upcoming seminars. On Wednesday, we have the job search. Tomorrow, the job searching tools and strategies will be from noon to 12:20. We'll utilize Handshake, LinkedIn, and targeted tools to find opportunities. So as you're trying to expand and look at the type of companies that match your priorities, we'll spend a little time utilizing those tools in order to find those. And they're all free, and all of them are on our engineering careers website. We'll also spend from 12:30 to 12:50 creating and building, or talking about creating and building career connections, utilizing tools like LinkedIn. And how can we go about that? And how do you approach people? How do you find people that match up into the companies, industries, locations, and types of jobs that you want? I have a great story to share with you of a young lady that I did not know until the holidays that was left looking flat-footed. The company rescinded their offer, and there she was in Chicago, and how she utilized LinkedIn as a tool to connect with employers and find out new opportunities for her as she was left afloat by this company. So very powerful tools we'll talk about tomorrow during both of those 20-minute seminars. On Thursday, we're going to have a student perspective. Don't just listen to me. So on Thursday, we're going to bring in some students, and they'll give you some observations from the field, some of the best practices of senior job seekers, what they've been utilizing, what makes sense to them, what has helped them, what things that they would suggest to you to do. And so we'll have some graduating and graduated seniors from different majors in engineering that will talk about their experience and some of the things they would advise all of you to do in order to get the job of your choice. And then on Friday, we're going to finish up our boot camp week with an employer panel. Back on July 30th, I brought together 7 different employers from 7 different locations and different industries to talk about what they expected in fall recruitment. Their best advice to all of you in fall recruitment, and what they expected in terms of hiring. Some of those things came true, some did not. So we're going to bring back that crew again to talk about what they saw in the fall, what worked in the fall, what they liked that you did in the fall, what they think that you should do better from the fall, and their best observations of what we can expect during spring from a hiring perspective as it relates to graduating seniors in the College of Engineering. So that will be Friday. That entire thing, along with questions and answers, both from the student perspective one on Thursday and the employer panel on Friday, will last about 75 minutes on Friday to get through all the questions and that kind of stuff. If you have a question ahead of time that you want to fire up to one of those employers, just email me and let me know, and I will get that ready in terms of our questions for that panel. How will you get that to me? Well, here's my email, here's my phone number, and here's my LinkedIn profile. If you're not on LinkedIn, why aren't you? You should. Again, we have a great webinar on LinkedIn on our Engineering Careers website, but you should link in with me because I know a lot of people, and you can connect up that way. And then if that doesn't work, just email or phone call me if you have a more immediate question. If you want to meet with me, I do have my senior walk-ins, no appointments needed. Those will be Wednesday and Friday this semester. On Wednesday, I've moved my Monday night to Wednesday night per a lot of requests by students. So it'll be Wednesday night from 7 to 8:30, no appointment needed. You can just jump into my Zoom room there. The link is on the screen. Also Friday from 11 a.m. till 12:30. I don't schedule anything during that time other than you guys, and you can pop in. Sometimes I'm the only one there. Sometimes there'll be a group help with 3 or 4 of you there. So those senior walk-ins can be group, but many times they are one-on-one, depending on how many people I got visiting that day. Those are available over my individual Zoom room. If you want something more personal, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays this semester, I've made myself available for 3 to 5 hours a day for appointments from students. You can just go on my calendly.com/Machin and book a 20-minute appointment utilizing that link. These are also available on that careers website that I talked to you about. That's out there for any of you to utilize. All right, that's it in terms of our formal presentation. I'm going to stop it there, and then I'm going to open it up for questions.